Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Star Bazaar, another Battlefront 2 tips and tricks video, and my updated lightsaber dueling guide. I've been really looking forward to making this one ever since my first video on lightsaber duels. We were just waiting for the new combat system to arrive, and now it's finally here. I've been spending a good amount of time figuring the new system out, and I think I've got a good handle on it. So if you're ready to win some more duels, let's check it out. So first off, let's go over the major differences from the original system. First, the knockback stagger effect that happened once you hit a blocking lightsaber hero is now gone. You can now smoothly chain attacks against a blocking hero and not worry about leaving yourself open. This makes lightsaber combat way more fluid and aggressive and less of a block fest, which is good. The other major difference is the fact that stamina is now required to both block and attack. If you're out of stamina, you can't attack or defend yourself until it comes back. This is so important to the new system, and keeping track of your stamina will make the difference between a win and a loss. With the old system, there was a pretty straightforward way to win. Block your opponent's attacks and counter when they stagger back from it. Since the stagger is gone, so is this straightforward strategy, which makes it so that there really isn't any one right or wrong way to win. It's entirely up to your own playstyle. In my opinion, this makes duels way more thrilling, because instead of relying on a single clunky strategy, you have to rely on everything at your hero's disposal, abilities and all. Before getting into some general tips though, I want to take you through a duel and show you what I'm thinking and why I made the decisions I did. Here, I'm having a face-off with Obi-Wan, and the first thing we do is have a small one-hit exchange, just to test each other out. I did one swing, then went to the block expecting him to swing, which he did. With the new system, you can take turns wearing down your opponent's stamina like this, and it's a pretty interesting thinking game because you have to think about how much stamina you're using up while attacking compared to how much your opponent is using up blocking your attacks. If you use up all of your stamina by attacking, but your opponent still has some left after defending those attacks, you're in trouble. That's why I'm not just unloading on Kenobi here. I'm taking it 2 or 3 strikes at a time, and then moving when needed to let my stamina recharge. I'm also keeping a very close eye on my stamina meter. When I realize I'm getting low, I use Frenzy to still be able to attack, while letting my stamina come back during the ability. So now, Obi-Wan is a little low on health, which puts me at an advantage. If I can keep doing damage and stop his recovery, then I can win this. I'm now going full aggression and not relenting with the attacks because I can't let him recover. I'm doing my best to duck around him and get the last few shots in the back in order to win, and fortunately I was fast enough here. This is the new lightsaber combat, getting past your opponent's stamina to chip away at their health. Health and stamina work very closely together. If you realize your opponent is low on health and you can finish them off, it really doesn't hurt to just start unloading on them. If you can deplete their stamina, there will be nothing left to protect them from your attacks, and you will most likely win. I'm going to have more footage of some very intense duels I had playing in the back so that you can have a visual, but I'm now going to go over some general tips that will help you out a lot when having duels. First off, and this tip returns from my first guide, know your character. Knowing your hero is so important now, even more so than before. Knowing the differences between Kylo's capabilities and Vader's capabilities gives you the knowledge of how to use them and how not to use them. For example, Vader has terrible attacking stamina, but fantastic blocking. Kylo, though, has great attacking stamina, so Kylo should be played far more aggressively than Vader. This comes with knowing your hero, and one thing I recommend is spending some time looking at the stamina values chart that came with the community transmission for the saber changes. I have it up on the screen now, and you can pause the video if you want to read it here, but this chart has some great information that will tell you exactly how to play each hero. Let's look at Vader for a second, just as an example. He has the absolute worst attacking stamina in Battlefront 2, only able to do 8 attacks before gassing out and being unable to attack and defend. On top of this, his stamina regeneration is also the worst in the game, taking 3 whole seconds to begin and then another 3 seconds to fully recharge from empty. That is 6 seconds of not being able to do much with Vader during a duel. So, for that reason, spam swinging with Darth Vader will mean certain death. If you use up all of your attacks, your opponent can easily mess you up after, so it helps to know that about Vader's stats. This goes for every other hero, knowing their attack limits, knowing when their stamina will start to come back, and how long it takes to come back. It's all very important and stuff you need to consider during duels. Knowing not only your hero, but your opponent's hero too, will tell you exactly how to play and what the best way to win is. Going off of this, keeping track of both yours and your opponent's stamina is something you always want to be doing. If you're going up against Vader, for example, count his swings. If he does 4, you'll know that he's at half stamina, and then you can attack to wear it down even more. But you don't want to get so caught up in tracking your opponent that you ignore your own stamina. If you find yourself running low, back off and let it recharge. Or, another good tip, save your abilities for when you're out so that you still have a means to attack even without stamina. Using your abilities defensively like this can keep you alive even if you can't attack or block. Abilities like Darth Vader's choke and Kylo's freeze can keep your opponent immobilized for just enough time for your stamina to start to come back, letting you defend yourself normally again. Next tip I have, keep your health up. If your health hits 0, you lose, so your health is just as important as your stamina. They do work together though. If you're playing as Obi-Wan, for example, and you're running low on health, just keep that block up. Keep defending while your health recharges. You're spending stamina in exchange for getting your health back, which is a good trade-off in that instance. If you're getting hammered on by somebody trying to finish you off, just hold on to that block. Don't drop it until it's safe to move and you have more health. Next tip, use your knockdown abilities effectively. I said a moment ago it's a good idea to save your abilities for when you're out of stamina, but if you have an opening to knock your opponent down, I say go for it. Abilities like Dooku's lightning stun and Darth Vader's choke are so powerful now because you can no longer block attacks when you're on the ground. If you get knocked down by one of these abilities, you can get hit by a follow-up strike or 2, which could mean losing the duel if you're low on health. If you can knock your opponent off their feet, do your best to get to them and follow up with a saber attack, since they will not be able to block it anymore. Your dodges are very important too. Dodging effectively and trying to sneak around to your opponent's back can score you some free shots that will bypass their block. But don't get too hung up on swinging on their back. I'd say just do a single hit or 2 and then dodge away, because once your opponent realizes you're behind them, they will try to move too. On that note though, my next tip is to be aggressive. This new system does encourage longer combos, up to 3, 4, maybe 5 hits in a row, but that's just because that's the playstyle now. Since you don't have to worry about getting staggered back from hitting a block, you can have a field day with some really cinematic looking exchanges. Plus, I've found that aggression tends to win duels after this new update. Taking huge chunks of health from your opponent quickly and then keeping them on the ropes doesn't give them much time for them to go on the offensive themselves, making you the only aggressor. Of course, that doesn't mean you should get overconfident, but it does mean that playing defensively isn't necessarily the best way to win anymore. It really depends on the hero. Which just goes back to my first tip of knowing your hero. Obi-Wan is the best defensive duelist, so he can afford to keep his block up, while Kylo is the most offensive, so he can't afford to keep attacking. Other heroes like Luke are more balanced without an advantage either way, so you can decide for yourself how best to play them. I like this new system a lot because it isn't so straightforward and the battles are way more fast-paced and intense. Some will say that it's nothing but a spam fest now, and in HVV I would probably agree. But if you're trying to have some legitimate duels in Hero Showdown, this new system is a lot of fun and a huge step up from what we had before. It actually feels like a proper lightsaber duel now, instead of a match of who can stagger their opponent back the best. I hope these tips come in handy, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I didn't want to rush a dueling guide out as soon as the update dropped because I wanted to spend some time with it and really figure out the ins and outs of the new system. It's different, but in a good way, and I think will encourage more people to play some Hero Showdown. HVV is a bit of a mess right now, in my opinion, with all the knockdown abilities. I find it hard to stay on my feet. But ever since the update, I've been having a blast in Hero Showdown, so if you're having a tough time in HVV, try some HS and give these tips a try. Real quick, shout out to my boys Twisted Jedi, PaulJohn, and SammyBoiii, all of whom got down on some very intense duels with me the last few days and really helped me to figure out how to duel. All 3 are fantastic Battlefront YouTubers, and if you're subbed to me, you're probably subbed to them as well. But just in case, I will leave each of their channels linked below in the description, so head on over to their pages and hit that sub button for me. That's going to do it for this one though. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of the new dueling system. Give the video a thumbs up too if you found these tips useful, and that's going to do it from me. I appreciate you all stopping by the bazaar. This has been your boy, Turkish Delight, and I will see you all out on the battlefront. Peace.
You've already lost. You have lost.